When people say something's impossible, everything's been done, that just means everything's not been done. They just don't know.
They say if we build it, they will come. It's nice to have the ability to start small and to grow as the demand requires. Now we're able to build in a way that allows us to scale if what we've built is popular.
We are moving into AI-driven era where AI takes care of higher order activities.
Today's tools are allowing people to execute if they have the grit and determination.
People build what they can imagine.
各位亲爱的贵宾，欢迎您莅临由 AWS 所举办的2025 AWS 台湾云端高峰会。在此，我们为各位宣布第2天的活动正式开始。现在，让我们热烈的掌声，有请 AWS 台湾暨香港总经理王定凯 Robert 来为今天的活动致开场词。掌声有请 Robert。And now let's give a warm round of applause as we welcome Robert Wang, Managing Director of AWS Taiwan and Hong Kong, to kick things off. Please join me in welcoming Robert to the stage.
各位女士、各位先生，大家早！很高兴我们去年跟前年这个年度高峰会是我们每年最大的盛会，可是去年跟前年我们都因为台风，这是超级运气好的。我们的第2天的活动呢，都因为台风就要取消，就这个花前事小啊。可惜的是，我们准备了很多很丰富的菜色，都端不出来。然后好朋友们呢，也都没有办法借这个机会，大家互相交流、互相了解，这是我们感到最可惜的地方。那很感谢今年天公作美，也很感谢今年的第2天的这个活动，大家持续热情的参与，在此谢谢大家。那刚刚这个影片有讲到这些大胆创新、勇于尝试那我想各位对我们就是好朋友、新朋友，对我们都很了解。报纸上也常看到，亚马逊从在地上跑的机器人还有我们的无人计程车，到空中飞的，我们用无人机送货，跑到太空去，我们的 Project Kuiper 准备要发射6年，要发射3200多颗低轨道卫星，涵盖全世界，提供这个宽频的服务。大胆创新这个勇敢尝试都是一直是亚马逊的精神。今天在这个会场，大家也看到了，我们下面有这个字幕，这个是我们 partner 的这个 solution，那也是我们今天那个台湾团队大胆创新、勇敢尝试的一部分。它可能不是完美离完美还有一点距离，但是差不多可以拿得出来了。是不是里面会有一些有趣、错误的翻译？一定会有，但是这就是我们值得去推动大胆创新、勇敢尝试的精神。所以等一下，我们其他的讲者的英文讲者的时候，你就会看到，在下面这个字幕呢会有同步翻译那也帮我们省钱因为亚马逊也是很节俭的公司不希望浪费什么资源，所以以往我们都要租那些什么设备，后面有个小房间要翻译的，今年就没有这个设备了我们希望能够持续的快速迭代那各位这里面如果今天翻译有什么不好的地方，这个我先跟大家致个歉。那同时，因为我们今天人很多，活动还是每年都会爆场，所以有一些没有办法进来的朋友，那或是下午那个新创场更多下午新创场肯定会有更多人坐不进去。我先在这边跟大家致歉，我们每年都会持续的再把场地再做得好一点。 好，那我几个很简单的投影片要跟大家分享一下。第一个，我要感谢我们在全世界的这些支持我们、赞助我们的伙伴公司各位可以看到这里面有全世界知名的 logo， 也有很多我们本地的 logo， 有很多我们本地的这些 partner 来支持我们。那我们也非常鼓励各位当我们的 customer 也可以当我们的 partner。我们有很多我们的客户也是我们的伙伴公司他呢常常就是像 Amazon 跟 AWS 一样自己用了以后再把它拿出去服务更多的市场上面有需要的人，所以非常鼓励大家当我们客户很好，当我们的 partner 更好，还可以出去一起跟我们赚钱。好，谢谢我们的 partner。那我们在大家都知道，我们的 Taipei Region 已经在6月份的时候宣布落地了。在宣布落地的时候，把台湾跟全世界连成了一张大网。连成一张大网的过程当中呢，我们就希望百工百业、各行各业都可以开始去，不是只是讨论 AI， 而是去探索、实做 AI， 要为 AI 更勇敢一点。那这个勇敢不是只是叫大家勇敢，各位可以看到，亚马逊自己都很勇敢。亚马逊目前在我们前一阵子才宣布的，我们已经有100万台机器人了。当大家还在争论机器人应该是什么人形还是非人形的时候，我们已经有100万台机器人了。跟我们的员工在全世界同步的合作，我们也用无人机送货。无人机不是飞起来就好无人机是飞起来之后才碰到问题无人机在飞行的过程当中可能会碰到有人机送货到了当地之后，包裹丢下去可能砸到人所以无人机要长眼，后面都是 computer vision technology， 很多都是 AI 的技术。好，那低轨道卫星我刚刚讲过就不重复了。我接下来放一段小影片给大家看一下。
Low Earth orbit or aerospace, next generation telecommunications, artificial intelligence, cloud, zero intervention technology solutions, UAVs, all of these are of tremendous interest to Taiwan. 所以再一次的谢谢 AWS 还有 Amazon 集团对于台湾的重视。
好，所以在现在这个非常 critical 的 moment， 我们怎么样帮助台湾，帮助自己，同时未来这些非常棒的无人介入科技的这些完整的解决方案，可以输出到全世界去帮助大家。那这边是一个新闻跟大家分享，就是我们的100万台机器人，然后我们有 Deep Flip 的这个科技，已经协助机器人自己去找它的路了。现在已经不是 rule base 了，各位，还在 rule base 已经过时了。机器人自己找路，找到最佳搬运路线，同时还可以省电，省电就是减少碳足迹。他说我们已经前一阵子宣布了。那今天也非常高兴呢，跟大家分享这个我想昨天的报纸、前一阵子报纸或者大家报名的时候都有看到了，我们找到了美国跟日本这些独角兽，就是 AI 的独角兽，甚至独角巨兽很神秘的 Palantir， 让他们来跟大家自己现身说法。它不是只有国防科技，它有 Enterprise Solution， 有好几十种不同的产业解决方案，面对制造业，面对金融行业，面对航空服务业等等的。所以 Palantir 会到了我们的活动跟大家做分享。下午的那个新创他们也会在。各位想要当 Palantir 要先用 Palantir， 这是 Palantir 讲的所以各位可以学习一下 Palantir 怎么样变成这么快速，变成全世界很知名的公司。第二个 Gambit，Gambit 昨天有分享，它就是一个做无人机、做蜂群无人机控制的公司。无人机如果后面要配一个飞手的话，那是玩具Gambit 可以数千台无人机呢，非常少的人控制，零介入科技的专家。所以未来我们怎么样让这个无人机像机器人一样，后面的人越来越少，它的自动化程度越来越高。Preferred Network 它是machine learning 的专家，现在正在做 AI 的晶片。AI 晶片对台湾都是非常重要，但是我们怎么没有一个台湾的 Preferred Network 呢？它已经估值超过2个 B 20亿美金的公司了。Sakana AI 它做日本 Large Language Model 的，估值超过2200亿日币。1年之内变成新创独角兽，才2023年8月开张的。各位，这个商机无限， 新的科技你只要拥抱，抱对了就可以创造这很高的价值。那我也要特别介绍一下，我们的下一位讲者，这是我们总部的副总裁，资深副总裁。那我们这位资深副总裁呢 ，Shally 他过去也是科技行业出身，他有非常强的这个科技的背景本身是这个 MIT 的 EE 他也在 Salesforce 担任过这个业务副总裁的这个工作。那同时呢，他也是维吉尼亚州在2022年、24年、25年票选出来的前50大女性领导者所以非常高兴 Shally 跟他的团队也飞到台湾支持我们这个活动。那等一下还有东元的这个吴处长，还有乔山的陈副总会一起跟大家分享他们在应用 AWS 的科技的过程当中看到了什么我们怎么样去协助他们创造价值。那希望我们今天的这个活动大家能够收获满满。那在探索未来科技跟创造价值的道路上面 ，AWS 可以跟各位站在一起，从台湾到全世界。谢谢大家。
非常谢谢 Robert，Thank you Robert。接下来的演讲，很荣幸邀请到 Shally Stanley，AWS Vice President of Professional Service Labor， 为我们带来今天第一段的大会主题演讲。Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm round of applause as we welcome Shally。掌声欢迎。
Thank you so much, Robert, and welcome everybody to AWS's Taipei Summit for 2025. It is such an honor for me to be here with you today. In my short duration here in Taipei, I've had such a wonderful visit so far and such a warm welcome from everybody. I hope I have some time to give back a little bit of that warmth as we go through the summit today in this morning's keynote. So today, I want to start with a question. What if you could build anything you could imagine? To me, one of the best parts of being a builder is that you get to imagine things that seem impossible and then build them and make them real. And at AWS, we give you the building blocks to build anything you can imagine. And with them, we've seen you build remarkable things, improving how we heal people and the planet, transforming finance, elevating fandoms, even helping the blind to see. These are all inventions made possible because of AWS building blocks. The idea of building blocks is fundamental to how we invent at AWS. We build services that do a job really well, and then we make it easy for you to combine them together. But there are some things that are so fundamental, they have to be part of everything that you do. And for us, that's security. At AWS, security starts with the silicon, and it goes all the way up the stack, ensuring that no one, not even us, can access the data while it's in our data centers. And once you have a secure foundation, what comes next is scale. And that starts with the AWS global backbone. AWS has the largest private network with more than 6 million kilometers of fiber optic cabling connecting all of our regions, availability zones, and edge locations. And every year, we continue to grow and add capacity. In fact, just last year, we increased the network backbone capacity by 80%, always growing. So this brings us to our first building block called compute. Today, you can get as much compute as you need from AWS, with a wide variety of compute options such as virtual servers, containers, and functions to support your workloads. Let's take EC2. EC2 has over 850 instance types, enabling you to access the ideal compute for any workload. Even workloads that once were considered impossible to run in the cloud. Applications that demand extraordinary compute power, like scientific modeling, video transcoding, and machine learning. Or mission-critical enterprise workloads supporting really large in-memory databases and complex analytics. With the rise of generative AI, accelerated computing instances used for training and inference have exploded in popularity. And AWS is by far the best place to run GPU workloads. We have a 14-year partnership with NVIDIA, and we continue to innovate together. We've added new NVIDIA-based instances to power your workloads, such as the new P6 family of instances that feature NVIDIA Blackwell GPUs, including the GB2000 superchips. But we saw builders needed more flexibility in how they access GPU capacity. So we created EC2 capacity blocks to provide instant, predictable access to high-demand GPUs. This is perfect for short-term training and fine-tuning workloads. As you know, innovation is rarely a straight line, and the considerations around how and when you scale continue to evolve. This is the challenge that Canva faced. Let's watch the video and take a look.
Innovation is always about solving problems and helping people to achieve their goals more quickly than ever before. Our goal at Canva was to always enable people to take their idea and turn it into a design and have no friction between those 2 points. So you can now create a beautiful whiteboard. You can create an incredible presentation, all with a click, with the power of AI. Today, we have more than 220 million people using Canva each month, and our goal is to get to 1 billion people each month.
Scaling generative AI products to 1 billion users means that we have to be global. We have to be in all of the available data centers around the world and ensure that the right capacity and the right GPU instance types are available. And that's where AWS really comes to the table, working with us to scale as we need it. We can't empower the world to design if our platform and our tool isn't reliable. Using AWS ensures that we've got all of the right baseline capabilities available that are secure, reliable, available when we need it, and that just increases trust with our customers.
Being able to rapidly ship product to the whole world and deploy it is an extraordinarily important part of our success. So it's been amazing to partner with AWS on that incredible journey.
We're just 1% of the way there. Canva is just getting started, and we cannot wait for you to see what we have coming up next.
Secure, available, reliable. It's customers like Canva that drive to enormous scale and push us to make compute faster and more sustainable at lower cost. These are the improvements that empower you to build anything, and we're constantly improving. One area where we do this is Graviton. Graviton is our first custom CPU. Today, we're on the 4th generation of Graviton, and it's our most powerful chip yet. It's up to 45% faster than Graviton 3 and consumes 60% less energy for the same price performance of comparable instances. The amazing performance and sustainability of Graviton is why, over the last 2 years, we've landed more Graviton-based CPUs in our data centers than any other CPU type. Creating Graviton gave us momentum to tackle even bigger challenges, such as purpose-built AI chips creating inferentia and Trainium. Each chip designed with the same principles: exceptional performance at significantly lower cost. Today, Trainium 2-based instances offer the best price performance for generative AI and deep learning on AWS. They're up to 4 times faster and 3 times more energy efficient compared to Trainium 1 instances. It's a breakthrough that's already transforming the economics of AI. Some of the world's largest foundation model providers, like Anthropic, will use Trainium 2 to dramatically cut their training costs. Millions of people per day rely on Anthropic's Claude model to do their work. Together with Anthropic, AWS is advancing the future of generative AI. For builders using Claude, it means more intelligence, lower prices, and faster speeds. Bringing ideas to life requires multiple building blocks to come together. This brings us to our next building block, storage. Back in the early days of Amazon, when teams needed storage, they'd build it for themselves. In every new project, developers would spend months, sometimes even years, building, configuring, and managing undifferentiated storage solutions. We needed a solution where you could store anything, and that all services could utilize. And we realized that our customers needed that too. And that's when Amazon S3 was born. Today, we have more than 400 trillion objects in S3. Trillion. They hold data that can be used across AWS. S3 has continued to evolve and to follow how you want to use your data. As an example, let's look at the rapid adoption of open table formats like Apache Iceberg. Apache Iceberg is an open source, high-performance table format for large analytical data sets in formats like Parquet. And there are exabytes of Parquet data stored in S3. To effectively work with such large volumes of data, Iceberg uses metadata. Under the hood, Iceberg uses a hierarchy of metadata and manifests to manage data, snapshots, and table updates. But the challenge with Iceberg is that it requires manual maintenance to run optimally. And this overhead only increases as you scale. We saw an opportunity to remove some of the heavy lifting. So we added a new bucket type to hold new S3 tables to support Iceberg, removing that heavy lifting and enabling you to quickly manage and query data without the manual overhead. And then we created S3 metadata to automatically generate system metadata, such as object size, storage class, and encryption status. And now you can add custom tags to make finding that right data simple. And with this, it's now easier to create data products that can be used across the business. With metadata, it transforms how information is searched and accessed, allowing new data products, or for AI systems like agents, to more effectively leverage it for tasks like research, content creation, search, or analysis. And these data products often rely on our next building block, databases. We have databases for every kind of data that you can imagine, and we continue to innovate here. Developing new capabilities for databases requires solving some of the hardest distributed system challenges for how database transactions are recorded. It comes down to time. Reducing the number of conflicts across distributed databases requires knowing the precise time a database transaction occurred. And that means you need clocks that are perfectly synced, no matter where they are in the world. Tricky. And because we control all of the infrastructure that AWS runs on, we did exactly that. We set an atomic clock with a microsecond precision through the introduction of the Amazon Time Sync service. But when it came to databases, this unlocked something even more. Multi-region, strong consistency with low latency across databases, whether you're using SQL or NoSQL. These provided virtually unlimited scale across regions with zero infrastructure management and a fully serverless design. This means that you can add multi-region active capability to your databases in a way that is effortless for you to build and operate. And because it's AWS, you're always in control of where your data resides. Amazing. Amazing. Now, I'd like to introduce you to a company that is powering digital transformation for health and fitness around the world. Please join me in welcoming Vic Chen, Vice President of Central Management for Johnson Health Tech.
各位来宾早安，谢谢各位。我想很高兴今天有这个经验，站在这里来分享，就是我们乔山健康科技跟那个 AWS 的合作的成功案例。我的演讲很简单，在这里我会明确的告诉你们，我们遇到什么困难，我们用 AWS 做什么解决，就这么简单。好，希望这个演讲对你们来讲有一些帮助。好，那我先介绍一下我们乔山。有在健身的年轻人、中年人、老年人，应该都知道我们乔山健康科技的产品。好，我们现在营业额其实比不上电子业啦，但是我真的很自豪的讲，我们的生意跨足了商用跟家用。商用呢，就代表，比如说我解释一下，像在台湾，沃俊，它就是一个健身连锁。那他开健身房，我们提供产品来帮助我们的客户，帮助我们的客人。那这就是商用，我们已经做到了全世界商用第一。好，那家用部分的话，比如说你在实体的门市或者是 e-com 上面，你买一台回家用，那这就是家用，我们是全世界第3。好，所以这就是我们乔山。讲到我们的名字 Johnson， 很多人以为我们是美商，错，我们是道地的台湾公司。我们从研发、设计、生产到售后服务，一手全包。我们在全世界已经有超过40个国家，我们当地有设所谓的子公司在进行销售。那我们产品已经卖到全世界100多个国家。好，所以我们对我们中华民国政府来讲，我们是一个很指标性的产业的一个企业。好，我总要帮我们公司打点广告哈。好，那接下来的话，我们的旗下品牌总共有 Matrix、Vision 跟 Horizon， 针对不同的课程。那我们去年也并购了一个Boflex， 那我们深受全球的肯定。其实我们不止在现在的数位的转型我们长期以来，我们一直在一直在推动我们资讯科技的医化，增加我们的集团管理。所以我们在2011年，我刚加进乔山的时候，我们1年做140几亿，全球大概第5、第6。但是经过我们长期推动所谓的资讯科技医化，那我们去年已经做到了490亿。好，那我们全世界刚好我讲的商用第1，全世界家用第3。好，那我们这几年来，我们有遇到挑战吗？有，绝对有。那今天我就分享2个比较重要的重点。我们面临什么挑战？那我们怎么样从 AWS 上面找到解决方案？第一个，我们的挑战就是我们全球商用的资料同步的难题。好，我们在全世界，因为我们卖到全世界嘛，5大洲，在全世界的健身房连锁啦、饭店跟企业的客户里面，已经部署了数以万计的健身设备，而且这些机台随着时间的推演都不大一样，它的产品都不大一样。那你可以想想看，在客户他同意授权之下，每一台都必须让客户进行他器材使用的训练资料，可以及时同步。所以说呢，假设 A 君他今天在加州的一个运动连锁的健身房里面，他做运动，他下一个礼拜他跑去了纽约，他一样在这样的健身连锁的健身房，他要什么？他当然要同步他的健身的那个资料嘛，对不对？这样他才有办法持续嘛。 所以这个对我们来讲，就是我们必须要能够有低延迟、高可用性，来同步我们的那个客户的一些重要资料到全世界的任何一个机台上面。对我们来讲，这是一个很大的挑战。好，那第二个挑战我要分享就是什么？我们如何维持高品质影音串流的压力？我们去年我们并购了在北美运动界有一个被誉为叫北美运动界的 Netflix 的知名品牌，它叫 Bowflex。那因为这个并购以后，我们得到了 Bowflex 它本身的一个数位影音的平台。它就是将海量的4K 的高画质互动式的课程，它每天就上到那个平台，然后稳定的推播给全世界数十万的用户在看。巅峰时间真的不讲假的，在北美同时会超过8万人线上在使用课程。那在这么巨大的一个所谓的流量之下，我们要怎么样能做到让客户能够享受流畅、不延迟的4K 影音体验，这就是我们的挑战。好，所以我就说我们遇到2个很大的难题，对不对？然后这2个难题在这么多年来，其实我们并没有选择昂贵的方式去自建我们的全球的资料中心，我们也没有投资更多的钱去解决串流问题，我们就转向了 AWS。好，我们利用 AWS 成熟、稳定跟弹性的云端服务，我们就找到了解决方案。好，怎么解决这2个很大的问题？第一个，我们要让全球资料的同步。我们当然要有一个很厉害的 database 嘛，对不对？因为大家可能在这里都是业界的同事都知道，所以我们要一个无国界的 database。好，那我们就采用 AWS 全球资料库的架构，而且我们设计了一套就是分层式的存取机制。好，那等到你有了这么巨大的 database， 这么强的 database 以后，接下来问题是什么？因为我们做的是全球5大洲的生意啊，一个资料库一定不够，所以我们要求 AWS 一定要快速的复写到它其他各地的 AWS 的区域，这样子你在你当地的任何一个国家的健身房，你才能连上嘛，对不对？所以呢，我们就采用了那个所谓的 RDS， 好，然后它可以把储存用户的核心账号资料，同时我们搭配了就是他们的 DynamoDB， 好，这是一种全托管、多区域、多主动的 NoSQL 的资料库。简单讲，就是它可以快速的把这个资料，我们那个很强大的 database 复制到全世界各地的 AWS 中心。好，这个对我们来讲就是个重点嘛。好，你有强大的资料库，你可以复写到全世界。接下来是什么？我们当然是让我们的机台可以跟他们做安全的一个 connect， 对不对？所以我们透过 Amazon 的 API Gateway， 我们建置了一套安全的 API 的端点，让全世界的机台都能够透过标准化的request 方式去取得资料。啊，那后端我们就用所谓的Lambda 的那种所谓的商业逻辑去处理。那这种 serverless 的架构，其实我们就可以让根据请求量的自动扩展，然后提供了稳定而且保证的连线的安全。好，那这些都处理完之后，再来接下来是什么？成本啊！我们一大堆影音资料、客户资料，全世界放在那一边，我们不能够负担这么大的成本，对不对？所以呢，我们就选择了 S3。啊，昨天我有听到他们讲 S3。那我们用了 S3 以后，我们也启动了 S3 的 Life Cycle Policy。那这可以让你干什么？就是我们自己先了解说，在客户资料里面其实会有冷资料。什么叫冷资料？就是它一段时间以后，它可能就不再去使用的资料。那我们就利用这个 policy， 我们定义为，对我们来讲，超过1年以上的资料叫冷资料，它就自动会移到成本更低的储存层。啊，这个是重点哈，对企业来讲是重点。我老板也很在乎哦。它移到那个更低成本的储存层以后，比如说 S3 的Glacier， 我们大概成功省下大概73% 的所谓的资料储存成本。对我们来讲，这个问题就解决了。好，那还有另外一个我谈的议题是什么？我们4K 影音串流的议题。因为我们的 Journey 它本身就是一个影音平台，所以我们就希望 AWS 可以专门为媒体娱乐产业打造的一个解决方案。我们要建构一个广播级的影音平台。简单讲，2个重点。第一个，你一定要转档。 我们利用那个 AWS 的 Elemental 的 Media Convert， 它这个东西可以帮我们健身教练 4K 的课程上传之后，它自动去把它转档成多种不同的解析度跟位元速率的版本，来适应什么？适应你从光纤直接到什么？到终端手机、4G、5G 不同的终端的观看环境，过程完全自动化，而且确保了那个所谓的转档的效率跟品质。好，那你有影片以后转档以后再来呢，就推播嘛。所以我们就 CDN 好分发网路。那在这个重点里面，就是我们只要影片做完了之后，就会推播到 Amazon 它本身的 CloudFront。那 CloudFront 是什么？是 AWS 全球各地的分发网路。那它有很多的 Edge Location， 好，数百个在全世界里面，所以你就可以经过我刚才讲的，就是好，当北美或欧洲的用户，他在健身房里面，点击一下课程以后，影片就会从他离最近的 Edge Location 里面去做串流，那个所谓的缩短的物理距离缩短了很多。这也就是为什么我刚才讲说，可能同时间在那个北美有8万个客户同时以上上线的时候，我们可以保证那个所谓的提供稳定高品质的运动的影音串流。所以2个问题，我们都在 AWS 上面找到解决方案。好，那我们不外乎嘛，我们就要从可量化具体的成果来看这个效应嘛。第一个，我们站在使用者的体验方面来看，我们的确我们就是客户满意度提升了42%，那 Journey 平台的用户呢，那个留存率上升了35%，每周活跃用户增加了57%。那如果从营运效率来看呢，储存成本降低了73%，维护维运的工作减少了60%。以下这个最重要，我们产品创新的周期从6到8个月，我们可以缩短到8到10周。大幅提升我们市场的反应速度，我们这个行业对消费者的反应速度绝对是个重点。好，这也就是为什么我们站在商用世界第一的最主要的一个因素。而且 AWS 坦白讲，稳定还有高弹性的服务，也加速我们创新的脚步。如果从商业的角度来看 ，Journey 的付费订阅率用户，我们成长了有78%。然后联动带动我们的本身的那个硬体的那些健身设备的销售增加了23%，所以成功创造了所谓的硬体跟数位内容的双重收益。这是我们健身行业现在必须要面临而且一定要走的一条路，你没办法往后退。所以简单讲 ，AWS 跟他们合作，它让我们能够专心在我们的核心业务。就是打造顶尖的健身产品与内容，这就是我们数位转型，透过 AWS 的合作的所谓的成功的关键。那如果站在这里，我要展望未来，我先看看今年年初，我们乔山应该很多人都知道，我们受到国际骇客的攻击。所以现在我自己本身是集团的资讯的负责人，也是治安的负责人。我有在考虑跟 AWS 已经在计划，我们是不是在3年内把我们的 ERP、还有 BPM、还有 PLM， 我们全部移到 AWS 的云端？因为地端对我们来讲成本太高，而且坦白讲，我们已经被攻破1次了。所以我们目标光是 cost saving 的部分，我们准备要节省20% 的营运成本，并减少30% 的系统故障时间。那我们认为 AWS 可以提供自动化的安全控制、持续监控，还有所谓的威胁侦测。那 AWS 不用讲，它符合多项的国际安全标准，而且内建的加密功能，我觉得对我们跟客户的资料来讲，是一个很大的一个保护的作用。那以上这些都是产品的议题那我们在所谓的集团营运这一块，我们现在也在 AWS 上面我们利用那个所谓的 Databricks 的技术。我们现在在create我们整个集团 Unified 的给子公司使用的 BI 的 reporting 跟 dashboard， 那预计产生更强大的管理效用，以协助我们集团。好，大概我的演讲的重点在这里，但是我要利用这个机会，我要感谢一下 AWS、Attila 跟 Shally， 还有就是那个中华电信的陈威远，这3位他们都带着他们顶尖的技术团队。长时间跟我们配合， 也跟我在那边西雅图跑来跑去、杀来杀去。对啊，好，那我相信，在这个 AI 的数位新时代，我们肯定会跟这2家公司继续合作，来继续维持我们共创3赢的局面。好，谢谢各位，谢谢。
Thank you so much, Vic. It is so exciting to see how Johnson Health is innovating in the health and fitness space. Truly inspirational story. Thank you. Over the last few years, we've seen generative AI evolve from a simple image and text generation to models that can think and reason. And just like compute and storage, inference has evolved to become a critical building block for your applications. That's why we built Amazon Bedrock as the easiest way for you to build and scale generative AI applications on AWS. And that's why we continue to expand Bedrock availability all around the world. So what does it take to build a generative AI application that works well today and into the future? The first is model choice. The world of foundation models moves incredibly quickly, with more capable, cost-effective, and faster models released each and every week. And we know that there's no one model that's best for every use case. So, within Bedrock, we offer a broad choice of fully managed foundation models across a variety of leading providers to help you access the best model for the job. And we do this without the need to manage and scale infrastructure. You are free to build and experiment with the latest models without compromising on security or performance. And that includes our Amazon Nova, our own family of foundation models that's specifically designed to offer leading options across quality, speed, and cost. Today, there are 8 different Nova models spanning understanding and reasoning, image and video generation, speech-to-speech synthesis, and browser interactions. And we also recently announced the ability to customize Nova models on SageMaker AI. You can customize Nova Micro, Lite, and Pro using various recipes that match your specific needs. This choice enables you to pick the model that's best suited for your use cases. This customization is super critical because incorporating your own data is one of the most important steps for getting value out of AI. And one of the most common ways to do this is through retrieval augmented generation, also known as RAG. But a challenge that many developers have encountered while building Gen AI apps is that RAG was originally optimized for unstructured data. But today, Bedrock supports fully managed end-to-end RAG across data types, delivering more relevant, accurate, and explainable responses to your users. Next, trust and security are paramount to any generative AI application. Bedrock Guardrails helps you block harmful or unwanted inputs and outputs for your generative AI applications. For example, if you build an application to process insurance claims, you can use guardrails to help you block certain outputs from the app. Things like certain topics or words, harmful content. They help you make responses align with your brand and the values of your organization. And now guardrails can do even more. One of the biggest things hindering Gen AI adoption in the enterprise is hallucinations. At AWS, we found that automated reasoning could be used to drive down the uncertainty in an AI-generated response. So Amazon Bedrock Guardrails with automated reasoning checks is the first and only safeguard that helps prevent factual errors errors due to hallucinations. The next is affordability. We know that today, inference costs can still be too high. And within Bedrock, there are a few ways you can reduce costs without compromising on performance. The first is model distillation. Model distillation leverages the outputs of a high-parameter model to train a lower-parameter model. It's like a teacher sharing knowledge with a student. Distilled models in Amazon Bedrock are up to 500% faster and up to 75% less expensive than larger models. Huge. Bedrock also offers intelligent prompt routing. This is where you designate multiple models for your application, and Bedrock determines which model best serves requests. Prompt routing can reduce costs by up to 30% without compromising on accuracy. Again, very powerful. And finally, we have utility. The utility of AI will be measured by the types of tasks it can be applied to. This is where agents come in. AI agents are autonomous software systems that leverage AI to reason, plan, and adapt, completing tasks on behalf of humans or other systems. The more tasks that agents can solve, and the longer that they can operate autonomously, the more utility they provide. But getting agents to production can be very difficult. You must be able to securely execute and scale agent code, store past interactions so agents can improve over time. And agents are only as valuable as the actions they can take, which requires them to have appropriate identity controls with the ability to discover, access, and connect to agentic tools and resources. And you need to understand and audit the actions that agents are taking. It's a lot. This complexity is hindering the ability to get agents into production quickly. But this is why we created Amazon Bedrock Agent Core. I'm so excited about this. Agent Core is a set of services that help you to deploy and operate highly capable agents securely and at scale using any framework or model. Agent Core is a step function change for moving your agents from proof of concept to production with the scale, reliability, and security that is critical to real-world deployment. This is how AI becomes real. It provides tools and capabilities to make agents more effective and capable, purpose-built infrastructure to securely scale agents, and controls to operate trustworthy agents. Agent Core services can be used together or independently, giving developers flexibility. This is flexibility that they need. Let me show you how it works. For this example, we're going to be building an agentic loan processor, one that accelerates risk analysis based on credit and other data before passing it to humans to finalize. So first, let's add memory. We give the memory group a name. We decide how long we want memories to be stored, and we add a memory strategy to help the model with sorting short-term memories into useful long-term memory categories. With this configured, our agent can now remember details from previous conversations and provide a very personalized experience. Next, we want our agent to utilize tools from across the organization, so we'll add an Agent Core gateway. Here, we'll set up the role for the agent to use and attach our authorization method, either using Agent Core identity or an externally managed identity provider. Now, we're ready to add targets to the gateway. These are specific resources we want the agent to be able to use. So let's add a target for Lambda so we can poll for updated payment data stored in DynamoDB. We'll add an S3 target to access any historical loan documents we may have on file, and a gateway target for an external API that will enable the agents to do some income verification. Next, we want the agent to handle any calculations that a human underwriter might need. So we'll add in Agent Core Code Interpreter. Now, the underwriter agent will be able to perform analysis such as adjusting the weighting of the borrower's debt-to-income ratio. And the agent can quickly create and execute the code needed to do the calculation. And now we're ready to deploy. We'll use the Agent Core Runtime's secure, serverless environment that can handle both real-time and long-running agent workloads automatically to meet demand. We just create a runtime instance, specify the entry point and runtime handles, all the infrastructure, all the scaling, and all the security. And then, finally, we can use Agent Core observability to monitor how our agent is performing and get insights into its health and usage. These dashboards help us to debug problems that we may have across the agent's process. It's kind of like if our loan processor is taking too long to calculate risks. We can find out why. And that's it. We have a fully production-ready agent deployed, secured, metered, and scaled. It's ready to help us transform our business, all with the freedom to innovate with models, frameworks, and data from anywhere. Told you it was amazing. Now, to share their amazing story of the cloud journey and how they're using AWS building blocks to accelerate migration, build employee skills, and establish a data foundation that's scalable for AI, please welcome Vincent Yu, Director of Teco Electric and Machinery.
Thanks, Shally. 各位大家好哈。那个在上台这个 presentation 之前呐，我想先很快的问大家一个：当你听到东元电机这4个字的时候，你脑筋里面啪跑出来的是什么？马达。哎呀，这个对我们公司还是有了解的。我大部分哈在很多演讲的场合听到的都是，家电啊，东元冷气，对不对？哈，东元冷气。那我等一下会跟各位报告啊，其实我们。集团里面呢有一个子集团，我们的泛东元集团有一个更有名的，大家可能不知道，就是摩斯汉堡。啊，摩斯汉堡其实是我们泛东元集团的一员哈，所以这个可能大家比较不清楚。好，那接下来呢，因为东元是一个已经接近70年的企业，一个集团企业了，所以我等一下会跟各位报告我们在这个我们整个在70年的过程当中，在最近的一些最新的进展，那各位可能也有注意新闻的人可能知道哈，今天我们有一个重讯要发布，啊，所以可能会有一些大的进展哈，所以大家敬请期待哈，这个我不能在这边讲啊。好，那东元呢，我们有几个大的产业的支柱哈，我们的产品系列，第一个当然就是我们的机电产品。就是我们的机电的系统，就是我刚才讲的马达，好，是我们最大的。那最新的进展呢，是各位可能在前一阵子听到我们做了一个并购，就是我们并购了深昌的 Transformer。好，那各位知道，在美国有很大的一个电力基础建设的商机，好，所以我们其实是在这方面做了一些投资。那第二个我们大的这个 BG 呢，是我们的智慧能源。那能源呢？大家知道，这个台湾最大的这个龙潭的厨电工程，其实就是东元建造的。好，那也在去年已经ongoing，所以各位大停电的时候可以比较放心一点哦，因为有一个厨电站在这边做一个 operation， 啊，这是我们做的。那我们最近呢，在马来西亚也并购了一家公司做 NCL。那为什么并购马来西亚这家公司呢？因为马来西亚这个 NCL 它是做 data center 的生意，我们最近在马来西亚拿了2个很大 data center 的案子。各位知道张斌呐， 彰化工业区彰滨那一片，不是那个 G 开头的那家公司这边做很多 data center 吗？那里面所有的机电的工程都是东元承包的。那 M 公司呢，也跟我们有关系。那 A 公司我们可能要加油一下哈，就是说这个未来的合作，可能我们跟 A 公司可以多一点的合作。OK， 好。然后呢，电动车的这个电动车的部分的动力系统，我们这个是几乎这个常年啦，都是得到国家精品奖。那各位在路上，台湾的路上看到那个电动大巴，那个 bus， 这种电动的 bus 的里面的动力系统，基本上都是东元提供的。那我们在印度也有这个跟日本的一家很大的商社合资的一家公司在做电动车，所以这是我们在电动车上面的一个进展。那空调这个大家都很熟悉啊，东元冷气啦、东元电冰箱啊，这种家电的这个部分其实非常多的。那最近我们有一个很大的进展，各位知道我们找谁代言我们的这个家电吗？有谁知道的？有谁知道？就是台湾队长陈杰宪。好，所以各位现在呢，如果到家电的那个卖场里面看到陈杰宪那个人形立牌，不要怀疑。你就站在东元的这个摊位的前面哈，就是陈杰宪是我们现在目前一个很大的这个代言的这个部分，所以这是一些我们最近的一些事业的进展，跟各位做一些报告。那在能源转型方面呢，在马达方面一个很重要的指标就是 IE 几 ，IE 从1、2、3、4、5哈，那 IE 5是东元大概在国内唯一有提供这样子比较高效节能的最高效节能的一个低碳马达。那各位的厂房，请各位回去看一下，如果你的马达还是用 IE 3，请赶快换成 IE 4，因为呢，对你的节电、省电费，因为现在台湾电费又要涨价嘛，对不对？所以对你节电绝对有很大的帮助，而且贡献 ESG， 好不好？所以各位赶快回去看一下，好，这是一个非常重要的，也提醒大家。那如果不知道去哪里买，就找东元，好，我们可以来提供这些相关的服务。然后再来的话，刚才讲了，就 IDC 的统包工程啊，这个部分我们做的非常多，好，然后再来我们在永续指数啦，连续5年，然后 MSCI 的评比，好，大概都做了一些的贡献跟这个评比。好，那我刚才讲了，东元是一个70年的产业的一个集团企业，它遍布全世界非常广。好，我们有北美区、什么欧洲区、什么我们全球5大区在做。那在这个成长的过程当中呢，我们遇到了非常多的挑战哈。那当然从组织架构面，它是一个分散式的组织架构面。刚才我们我们刚才聊天的时候还在讲说，其实我们的系统 ，even 我们的 ERP system 都不是 centralized， 我们是非常分散。好，这个是一个。那技术平台，我刚加入东元的5年前加入东元的时候，我发现说，哇，我们还在用 Lotus Notes。那大家可能这个 Lotus Notes 很多年轻的朋友不知道了哈，但是这个我们这个年纪比较大，大概都知道 Lotus Notes 非常。那 Lotus Notes 其实不稀奇，因为很多园区的公司也都还在用。但是我们居然是 R4 跟 R6这种进博物馆级的版本还在用，好，所以这是一个我们有很多旧系统，所以这引发我们后面的一些因应这些旧系统的一些挑战跟处理的方式。人才跟文化，因为有非常多的老员工，老员工其实呢对公司有时候是资产，但是有时候也是一些挑战的哈。比如说我刚进东元的时候呢，就问他说：“哎，我们的请假哈那个统计，我在哪边可以看得到？”我在请假系统，我请假单不是常常在请假的时候，请假单有个系统吗？我在请假系统都看不到哎。那个老员工就悠悠的跟你说，请假统计跟请假单在2个不同的系统。好，你要去另外一个系统去找请假统计，好，然后呢，你的那个什么员工的什么出差啦、申请那个费用统计啊，哇，那个科技那个会计科目可以有将近100项，你要从里面挑到对的，哇，这真是一个很大的挑战哈。所以这部分这个人才，但是这些老员工呢，这些比较资深的员工，他很熟悉嘛，所以你必须要透过他才能够了解这个，所以这部分怎么样帮助这些员工能够转型到一些新的科技平台上面去？其实这真的是一个很大的挑战。那治安维运不用讲了哈，这个刚才这个Shally也讲很多，这个副总也讲很多了。治安维运哈，我跟各位报告，以前我们提治安预算的时候呢，如果你提给老板，老板说提治安没有效益嘛，对，治安怎么会有效益？对，提治安有什么效益？然后你就摸摸鼻子，就跟自己讲说，那就不要做算了，对不对？不要做，没人知道，对不对？但是现在不一样，对不对？这5年来你不做，谁知道？骇客知道，对不对？骇客会来攻击你，所以这部分我觉得是一个非常非常好，就是很大的不一样。那数据治理的部分，我想等一下我们会来跟各位做进一步的报告。 好，那第一个我们跟 AWS 合作的这个专案呢，就是数据中台。那跟我们前面的挑战呼应哈，就是我们很多旧的系统里面有很多，我那时候就在想，我要把这些旧系统全部换成新的平台，那个大概要10年吧。好，就是从旧的这个系统要移过去，要花很长的时间，程式要改写啦等等这些，所以我不如怎么样呢？不如把这些旧系统里面有用的资产，就是所谓的数据，把它萃取出来。放到平台上面之后呢，让老板可以去做决策跟分析用，甚至 AI 来用。所以这是我们第一个起心动念要做这个事情。第二个事情呢，就是这几年很流行的叫做 single source of truth， 来，我们希望从这个老板的决策里面呢，不要，大家吵架的时候都很没有效率，对不对？每次开经营会的时候吵架都是吵到最后都是因为 data 不正确，好，然后下个礼拜再来。下礼拜再来之后，下礼拜再来还是不正确，一次又一次，一次又一次。所以我们希望大家吵架在上面做一些吵架能够做高效率的吵架哈。所以我们希望把这个 single source of truth 能够 build 起来。好，这是我们做这个案子的这个起心动念的原因哦。那我们做这个案子的策略呢，其实是这样子。我们也看到很多的这个集团呢，或者在做这事情上，它的策略是我既然要做数据中台，我就把好多的这 ERP data 全部丢上来，对不对？好。但是我们觉得这样子做，怪怪的。原因是因为第一个捞这些 data 全部上来哈，是一个很大的 effort 嘛。好，第二个呢是要清洗这些 data， 那是更大的 effort， 对吧？我无缘无故把这些东西放上来，我还要做清洗，其实是不划算的。所以我们后来的想法就是说，那我们应该用一些大型的应用来带动我的 data 上中台。借由上中台的清洗的过程当中，把这些 data 一次一次能够 reuse， 能够让我们其他的 application 用，让我们的同仁，我们昨天吧，我们有听到一个叫做数据公民、数据民主化这样的一个过程，能够做到这样的事情。我们希望朝这个方向，把数据变成一个产品，就是 data as a service， 这是我们做这个事情的最后的一个目标。好，所以我们做了2个 pilot project， 一个是统购哈。那为什么做统购这个案子呢？其实很简单，就是因为东元是一个 global 的企业，所以我们希望做 global sourcing 的时候，我们的统购下决策是有基于数据的。好，现在都是拍脑袋嘛哈，就是说我记得怎么样哈，我记得怎么样，我在这个墨西哥我找到一个很好的厂商怎么样，其实这个都没有数据，而且呢这边一个很精细的跟各位报告。它不是只有买的成本哦，我做这个事情不是只有买的成本，它要考虑 shipping， 要考虑现在最热门的关税，对吧？哪边跟哪边交易其实是不一样的，那个税是不一样，所以要把这些因素全部考虑进来，好，然后做一个最佳的判断。所以这是我们做这个案子一个很重要的原因。所以我们把10年的 SAP 的资料收上来，有大概1000多万笔的资料、物料阻挡等等这些。那中间有一个插曲啦，哈，就是我们跟 AWS 也合作，就是我们很多的资料其实是纸本的。当我们要把海关的那个 SH code 啊，要跟我们的物料做对应的时候，那是要大量的人工去做。那后来我们跟这个 AWS 透过一些 AI 的方式来做，其实就3个人天就做完了，就把这些对应都做完了。好，这是第一个我们在做的事情。第二个呢，其实因为这个不要讲川普啊，就是说我们的这个叫做短链嘛哈，就是全球短链，大家听得懂吗？啊，就是因为要就地生产，好这个事情，所以我们很多的生产基地要移转，对吧？我生产基地可能从墨西哥从墨西哥移到越南，或者越南移到印度等等这些，我生产一旦要移转的时候，不是只有产品移过去生产这么简单，我所有后面的 document 要一起移过去，对吗？我的BOM、我的设计文件、我的品质文件、我的制程文件，全部都要一起移过去。那以往怎么移？以往要花3周、4周的时间，去每个负责的同仁电脑里面去把最正确的版本找出来，核对没问题，做完翻译发过去，对不对？要花3、4周的时间做这个事情，3、4周算很厉害咯。现在我们透过数据中台，我们把最 up to date 的版本放到中台上面来，经过授权、管理等等这些之后，1天之内经过 approve， 马上勾一勾，它就可以下载过去，就可以移转过去了。好，所以这是我们做的第2个应用。这个应用的延伸是什么呢？各位你想哦，如果我现在的 document 这些都已经在平台上面了，刚才讲那个 Bedrock， 我们是不是可以用得上了？我可以就变成用一个企业智能大脑的方式，去让我的同仁能够很快的去学习到这些东西哈。所以这个是一个我们在做的事情。 我时间好像到了是吗？好，然后再来是数据治理哈。那治理的部分呢，最主要我们其实就是希望能够把我们的 data 能够长期有效的高品质的输出。好，所以这部分呢，我们其实要做的事情，我们是以 customer data 当做我们的切入点来做这个部分。这部分也是跟 AWS 合作哈来做这个事情。最重要，各位知道，以前我们做治理的时候 ，IT 治理我想各位很多公司都有在做。好，做 IT 的治理，但是 IT 治理我们通常都是以系统为核心，对吗？以系统为核心，所以呢，我们常常都讲系统管理者的角度在做，但是呢，数据治理就不是这样了，数据治理是更细致的，你要做数据的拥有者规范、数据的管理者的规范，跟数据保存者的规范是什么？3种不同的角色在里面各自扮演什么角色？针对不同类型的数据，好，所以这是一个非常长时间的下水道工程，哈，所以我们要花很长的时间去做清理啦，这些事情。那各位如果不知道刚才上面3种角色各自扮演什么，可以问一下 AWS 的专家，他们会告诉你这里面各自要扮演什么角色，怎么做这件事情。那另外呢，其实我们做这一题，还有做另外一个跟 AWS 合作，就是我们把我们的既有的一些对外服务的网站系统搬上云端。好，那这个其实不像想象的这么简单哈。我跟各位报告，搬上云端这件事情，好像很多企业都在做，就是网站搬上去，好像是这样子。我们当初做这个事情的时候，最主要是因为我们的同仁我们的 BG 的很多同仁 user， 他们会自己把很多的系统放在外面的网站上面。结果我们一做那个红队演练的时候，一打哇，那些几乎都是脆弱不堪的哈，就是会生不会养。我们的这些 user 就是他会生这些网站，但是他不会去怎么照顾这些网站，不会。你问他说，你有没有设防火墙？他跟你讲说有哦，我有设防火墙哦。然后呢，你一看里面的这个规则 ，any to any 等于是你买的门没有上锁其实是没有用的。这种不胜枚举太多了，所以我们就借由跟 AWS 合作，把我们 secure 的 baseline 建起来，建在 AWS 的网站上面，然后呢，把所有的我们这些对外服务的网站能够搬上这个网站，搬上这个 AWS 的平台上面，然后把这些安全的能够这个守护起来，而且呢，降低整个维运的成本。那这里面呢，最近我们也有一些同仁在跟我们讲说，Vincent， 你那个网站挂掉了，放在 AWS 网站上挂掉了，那个客户打电话来抱怨，你们要负责哦 ，AWS 要负责哦，对不对？最近我们同仁就开始在做这个事情。我说奇怪，这怎么会这样呢？我就查了一下，就这个同仁是怎么样的？因为同仁有技术背景，所以呢，他就自己去动了主机上面的一些设定，因为他自己有技术背景，他动了，就不通了所以这个事情呢，叫做我常常讲，这个叫做系统上云端的，但是人没有上云端。人还在地端，就是我们还是用很多地端的思维在处理这些事情所以这个我觉得这个也跟各位分享，它上去之后其实有好多事情要做的，它不是用地端的思维可以做，就是你上去之后，你云端整个 operation 的 SOP 是要重新建立的。好，所以这是跟各位分享一下。那这是我们的一些这个效益那除了我们跟 AWS 的这个几个 project 在走的时候呢，东元自己其实也做了很多内部的文化转型的部分，包括我们每一季会办一个叫数位联谊会，我们让我们的 Power User 去分享给其他的 User， 说他怎么做这些数位化专案的。我觉得这个是一个User 对 User 讲话，他们比较听得懂，比较能够共鸣。那另外一个，我们跟 AWS 有合作一个叫做这个应用探索的这个工作坊，让我们的同仁在数据中台这个平台上面到底要做什么事情，做一些发想跟讨论。那我们在今年的8月也会办数位竞赛，去pitch我们在数据中台上面的一些创新的应用会是什么。那另外我们也做了很多 AI 啦、BI 的工具的人才培训的部分。好，那量化的效益这部分就是最主要，呼应到前面讲的了就是说我们的数据中台可以让我们数据除错的时间减少，应用开发的时间因为可以 reuse 嘛，好，所以很多东西可以缩短它的时间。那这是我们做 pilot project 的一些效益。另外，维运标准化是非常重要的事情，特别跟各位报告，你上云端之后，很多东西的维运你要重新考虑。那最后呢，其实我们就是能够看到说，我们的效益大概直接化的效益分成几个部分，这部分也是我们的核心价值啦就是说我们在做这些案子里面，我们内心里面一直围绕的一件事情就是，我们希望我们的 user transparent 是对 user 来讲的 以前 user 对这些 IT 的东西，他都是非常的有隔阂嘛，好，因为他觉得不熟悉，有隔阂。我们希望数据中台上去之后，对我们的 user 透过 metadata， 透过数据字典这样的一些建制 ，user 能够很容易的去 access 到数据中台上面的这些数据资源。robust， 因为这个 AWS 的平台大家都知道99.999999好几个9在后面嘛，好，所以它是一个非常 robust 的一个平台。第三个 unify， 就是所有的 data 来自于中台，所有的 API 对中台就好了，你不要再自己去好多系统里面去做这种多对多的串联，好。再来 secure 不用讲，这刚才已经讲过很多了。那 traceable 就是我们在中台上面可以做数据血缘，所以你知道我每一个 data 每一个管理指标，它是哪些 data 组成起来的。那这个组成起来的部分，就是未来如果哪个地方动了、改了，我就可以很快的能够 trace 到。好，这部分对这个同仁来讲，就是一个很大的这个能够除错的一个便利性。所以这些东西加起来呢，其实就是一个 trust。我们希望借由跟 AWS 合作，打造一个能够数位信任的环境，让我们整个东元的集团的这个数位发展能够更快速、更稳定、更顺利。好，这是我以上的分享，谢谢。
Thank you so much, Vincent. Techo's story of using these building blocks to transform their business is so inspiring. Like I said earlier, we make building blocks that do one thing really, really well. But when do you need just one thing? Almost never. We want to make it easier for you to do everything really well. And so we've started creating streamlined and unified experiences where all of the building blocks come together so you can do your work quickly and easily. This was our goal when we launched the next generation of Amazon SageMaker. SageMaker Unified Studio combines our best analytics services with our widely adopted SageMaker service. The work that once required you to move between multiple tools and interfaces can now be done from a single unified studio. And what makes this new version of SageMaker so powerful is that it is built on a lakehouse architecture where data is easily accessible and end-to-end governance is built in, enabling teams to collaborate and share data, models, and Gen AI assets across projects. However, in order to take advantage of SageMaker and the other AWS building blocks, you need to be in the cloud. Migrating to the cloud can unlock huge value, but it's not always easy. Modernizing decades-old applications can be a slow and often very costly process. But this is where AI can be exceptionally powerful. At AWS, we've spent over 19 years helping customers overcome migration challenges. And I have to tell you, we have seen just about anything and everything that you can imagine. And we've taken everything that we've learned and integrated it into our AI capabilities that are helping customers make modernization easy. At AWS, the first thing we want to be talking about is Windows. Windows.NET applications moving to Linux. Transform automatically discovers incompatibilities, generates a transformation plan, and can even refactor source code on your behalf. Using Transform has helped developers modernize their .NET applications up to 4 times faster and cut the costs of Windows licensing by up to 40%. We all know that's a lot of money. Next, let's talk about VMware. Transform agents simplify and orchestrate the end-to-end migration process. It tackles one of the hardest parts of VMware migrations by automatically converting VMware networking configurations and firewall rules into native AWS network constructs. With Transform, this goes up to 80 times faster. 80 times faster. Huge. Agents can even assist with migrating complex mainframe applications. Mainframe projects that used to take years can now be completed in months. Since its GA launch in mid-May, AWS Transform has helped customers and partners analyze more than 128 million lines of code. As you can see, with the right building blocks, you can build anything you can imagine. And that's exactly why we're all here today. At the heart of it all, we're not just creating technology, we're enabling progress and empowering the world through what we build. As you continue your journey through the summit, I encourage you to connect, explore, and discover. Discover the services, tools, and brilliant minds that can help turn your ideas into reality. Thank you for joining me here today, and enjoy the rest of your summit.
Thank you, Shally. Thank you, Vic, and thank you, Vincent. 非常谢谢3位为我们带来精彩的演说。接下来的演讲，我们很荣幸邀请到 Denis Batalov, AWS Worldwide AI/ML Tech Leader， 为我们带来今天第2段的主题演讲。Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause as we welcome Denis. 掌声欢迎。
Thank you. Good morning. In my role of a worldwide tech leader, I do 3 things. I look after the largest global community of practice at AWS, all the specialists that come out and help customers adopt our technology, including those that are here in Taiwan. I have also been leading the field on responsible AI. From a technology perspective, I contributed to a few standards such as explainability at the International Standards Organization. And the third thing I do is I lead a team that's dedicated to helping customers adopt and build a generative AI and agentic platform on AWS, helping you scale applications, provide well-architected best practices and architectural patterns. I'm excited to share these and also the technical details of the recent announcement in this space. So let's dive in. At AWS, we believe there will be soon billions of agents in the world working alongside humans to augment their capabilities and accelerate innovation, improve productivity across every industry. In fact, our AWS CEO, Matt Garman, shared a vision of a technological shift that is comparing this transformation to the advent of the internet. So AI agents will no doubt change how we work and live. And to help these autonomous software agents, we see 4 key enablers taking agentic AI from hype to reality. Number 1 is model reasoning capabilities. We see an ever-accelerating number of very capable models, but also their reasoning capabilities increase. And of course, data and knowledge integration, the ability to ground the agents into your enterprise data. Infrastructure and agentic protocols, the likes of MCP, A2A, I'm sure you've heard of these now. And they help run and connect agents safely. And finally, all the tools that help build and orchestrate agents, sophisticated tools that help deploy and manage them at scale. So we see across industries and functions a lot of excitement in this space. In fact, Gartner predicts that over 1/3 of all applications and all enterprise apps will be infused with agentic AI in one form or another by 2028. And at least 15 of day-to-day work decisions will be driven or will be helped by autonomous agents by 2028. But this evolution isn't a roadmap of the future. It's already happening today. The evolution of generative AI has followed The evolution of generative AI has followed this trajectory of starting from rule-based RPA. These are very rigid systems. You know, they're not flexible, they require human oversight, they're rule-based. And a lot of customers start here and maybe moving towards generative AI and assistants, goal-driven AI agents, and ultimately, in the future, we're seeing a high agency, those agents that are capable of not only making decisions, but actually setting goals and executing strategy. So in this slide, you see a sort of an evolving maturity scale. Now, while the enthusiasm is palpable, it's often balanced with an important question about implementation. How do we take advantage of this technology to build trustworthy AI agents that are useful? And here's the real challenge. Anyone can experiment, but scaling is hard. And so Gartner predicts over 40% of agentic AI projects will fail before 2027, often because of costs, unclear value, and risk. So we'll talk more about that, but an agentic ecosystem needs to be based on access to appropriate tools, the right security controls, and actually access to many different evolving agents. And the business challenges need to account for the technical realities. And while it's easy to think of generative AI as sort of prompt coming in and response coming out, here is the reality check. AI systems are complex. If we look at a typical Gen AI system, besides models, it contains vector stores, RAG, agentic and other chains, API tools, and real-time guardrails. But to make the system work efficiently, we need to invest into evaluation practice, maintain repositories of prompts as they're evolving, and of course, take advantage of various types of caching. But that's not all. We have to take care of security and privacy, observability, and governance. And so going from one single application to the next, and from POC to production requires dealing with a number of barriers. And Shally alluded to some of them. In fact, it requires operational excellence at the end of the day. And so we see the need to dynamically scale agent resources. And as you do that, you need to ensure available capacity, cost, and resource plan. And you need to invest in security with agentic behavior evaluation, proper user and agent identity, fine-grained access permissions, and regression testing while applying guardrails in production. Now, you also need to integrate APIs, various tools, both internally and externally, and manage sessions and long-term memory that was mentioned, all while enforcing business and compliance policies, investing in observability and auditability. So to solve all of the above, organizations start to invest into generative AI or an agentic platform. It requires many of these components that are similar across different AI systems. When each individual team builds these components and defines these rules, it results in duplication of effort, lower overall quality and agility, and increased risk. So generative AI platform is precisely designed to consolidate common components, such as the ones you see here, and it usually aims to standardize and codify common patterns. And thus, it enables construction of complex systems and in a repeatable way from application to application. So at AWS, we're committed to being the best place to build the world's most useful AI agents, empowering organizations to deploy reliable and secure agents in scale. And our approach accelerates progress by building on proven principles while embracing new possibilities, creating systems that can adapt to models, evolve, new capabilities emerge, and as the use cases expand across your business. So let's take a look at the typical platform components of today. At the core of this, most customers start with an idea of a model hub. I want to be able to have access to the broadest choice of models out there. Most capable models. They could be embedding models, they could be text generation models, multimodal ones, and so on. And these models could be hosted already through the access of, call of an API such as Bedrock, or they could be deployed using SageMaker AI, where you manage your own infrastructure and endpoints. Or you could be deploying them through EKS, ECS, and other endpoints yourselves. And frankly, we still see quite a few customers who prefer to deploy their own models locally in an on-premises system so that they feel like the data that they send is fully under their control, and likewise the completions that are generated. So you may have a broad range of different model hosting capabilities, and you can see that now with agentic AI, you have a similar set of agents and tools, a hub, a notion of runtime. How do you run these agents? In what fashion? This could be in a fully managed or containerized basis, and so on. In all of these cases, you need to have a solid data management layer as you're building data sets to customize your models, launch vector stores and vector databases, perhaps indexing of documents, ingestion pipelines of documents, and so on. And now there's a novel concept of this memory component that's evolving, right, where you need to manage long and short-term memory. Okay, great. So that's sort of at the core of that system. At the top, the most common thing that we see is customers building a sort of a gateway. This is a way for me to choose which of the models I will use at runtime and where do I send my requests. And of course, the same thing we see happening on the agentic and tooling side, the gateways for that purpose, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. And of course, you may have a thin layer, which is either a playground to help you kick the tires or build some orchestration that's not inside the agents themselves. All right, but to manage all of that ecosystem, we kind of need to invest into solid operations fundamentals. Like I mentioned, we need an evaluation practices. We need to track cost, control our versions, and manage configuration of various kinds, including CI/CD and end-to-end automation. And when you do that, you need to invest into the observability aspects and observability components. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but this is where you would look at logs and traces and user feedback and other things. And of course, as you've instituted this platform, you kind of need to remember about responsible AI, various security aspects, governance aspects. The agentic AI is creating a whole slew of novel threats, for example, memory poisoning, right? And so now you need to pay close attention to this, including explainability aspects, guardrails, privacy, and governance overall. Okay. I mentioned the gateway, and in fact, that's what we're seeing most customers start with between LLM gateways, AI gateways, FM gateways. Oftentimes, they pick an open source solution such as LiteLLM to start with, or they may rely on our partner ecosystem. For example, Kong has been building AI gateways and API gateways for a long time, and we see this repeated over and over again. So we've decided ourselves to help customers by supporting the launch of this solution. You see a link at the top. This is a Terraform template that you can deploy in your account. It's a LLM gateway based on LiteLLM, and it takes care of routing to Amazon Bedrock models if you want to, SageMaker AI points, EKS, ECS deployed models, and even models that are sitting outside of AWS deployed elsewhere. Right? Because this is what customers want. They want the broadest choice possible, and yet governed in a one single central way. And so this gateway solution supports unified APIs, access and authentication, rate limiting, cost attribution, and of course, guardrails have been mentioned multiple times, so you can configure those for this. Okay, we have built a gateway. The next logical step is now you need to invest into observability, because you need to understand how that central system of sending the requests and getting results is performing. And we look at observability at 4 different layers. One is you start with component-based metrics, right? Things like invocation errors and latency and so on. But as you become more, as you're building more complex system, you need to orchestrate things, so tracing becomes important. As the data flows from one component to the other, you want to be able to examine that. And surprise, surprise, some of these systems, GenAI systems, still produce low-quality results on occasion. And who is best to assess that than your customers, right? Somebody who is seeing that output first and foremost, and they can provide some sort of indication, user feedback to you that this is not working well. So it's well advised to capture that as well and provide some key observability or maybe some end-on core type solutions to be able to interject. And then, of course, you could look at more advanced metrics related to model drift, sentiment analysis, some properties of the embedding models that you're using, and so on and so forth. So you can move from basic observability, start there, and then produce more interesting options. So one thing that we're noticing is that open telemetry is becoming a kind of a standard at this point. In fact, if you're operating fully on AWS, you're familiar with CloudWatch. And it has lots of functionality. It can have dashboarding. It can have traces and logs and so on and so forth, alerts. But if you're operating in a hybrid environment, OpenTelemetry seems to be the standard solution. And then you can also integrate it with CloudWatch, with S3 for further analysis of your data, and even very popular third-party data such as LangFuse that we see is being used. And once you've invested into this observability solution, you can move on to evaluations and evaluations best practices. All right. So customers have been building generative AI and even agentic AI systems on AWS for a while. And the architectural patterns of solutions are helpful, but we continue to innovate on behalf of customers, eliminating undifferentiated heavy lifting. Earlier, Shally mentioned Amazon Bedrock Agent Core, and I would like to give you some technical details of the Agent Core components. Now, these components are organized in 3 categories. So first, in being able to deploy securely and at scale, you have Agent Core Runtime and Agent Core Identity, really critical components there. And then you have a number of tools. We'll go through each one of them with Agent Core Gateway, Agent Core Memory, Browser, and Code Interpreter. And of course, we've just talked about observability and its importance, so it's definitely there with Agent Core Observability. OK, let's dive right in. So Agent Core Runtime is designed to run your favorite orchestration framework, whether it's LangGraph or CrewAI or even Strand's agents, our own open source orchestration library. And it delivers both interactive experiences with fast cold starts and complex asynchronous workloads running up to 8 hours, all supporting payloads of any modality out there. And based on Docker containers built with runtime decorated code, an identity and observability configuration. So Agent Core Runtime automatically handles scaling from 0 to hundreds of concurrent sessions, eliminating the need of capacity planning and sort of taking a page from the auto-scaling book that AWS is so strong on historically. Now, identity, Agent Core Identity allows AI agents to securely access AWS resources and third-party tools and services such as GitHub, Google, Salesforce, and Slack by providing robust access controls with just enough access and secure permission delegation. So it streamlines authentication flows. It delivers a simpler user experience for all your agent-powered interactions while maintaining robust access controls. And you see here, there's inbound authentication and outbound authentication happening at several layers. You can also use your existing identity systems, such as Amazon Cognito, Microsoft Entra ID, and Okta, without migrating users and permissions and authentication flows, saving you development time. All right, we talked about gateways earlier. So Agent Core Gateway is designed for tools. And it provides a secure way for agents to discover and use tools along with easy transformation of APIs, Lambda functions, and existing services into agent-compatible tools. Gateway also provides one-click integration with several popular tools such as Salesforce, Slack, Jira, Asana, Zendesk. Now, as your tool collection grows, it's kind of hard to manage it and hard for agents to figure out what tools to use, what tools are appropriate for a given task. And so with the built-in semantic search capabilities, it helps agents effectively utilize available tools based on their task context, improving agent performance, and reducing development complexity at scale. Now, agent memory, agent core memory, very important fully managed state-of-the-art agentic memory service. It abstracts the memory infrastructure, scales automatically with serverless architecture, and automatically stores and manages agent context across sessions. So it saves these into a short-term memory, but there is also automatic memory extraction module that happens to save these into a long storage in long-term memory. And there is also deep customization capabilities that help you define memory patterns based on your own use cases, configure these extraction rules, choose models, and customize prompts for memory extraction. So Agent Core Gateway makes existing APIs easy to access by your agents. But there's a whole lot of interfaces that don't actually have APIs, that were designed for humans. So many of these capabilities are still logged behind web interfaces. So Agent Core Browser provides AI agents with fast and fully managed browser runtime that automatically scales without infrastructure overhead. So Browser Tool provides extensive security through VM-level isolation and robust audit capabilities complemented by advanced features like session-level isolation. So you can trace the results of the invocations, whether those were driven by automatic agents or by humans, through observability and real-time visibility. Now, Agent Core Code Interpreter is very similar to code interpreter functionality that was built into Amazon Bedrock earlier. It enables agents to securely write and execute code in isolated sandbox environments. And so it comes with pre-built runtimes for multiple languages like JavaScript, TypeScript, and Python. And importantly, it has advanced features including VPC connectivity and be able to handle very large files, for example, sitting in S3 through running of that interpreted script. And of course, I don't need to convince you of the importance of observability. So Agent Core Observability offers a comprehensive solution that helps developers trace, debug, and monitor agent performance. And there's lots of dashboarding capabilities, and of course, support for open telemetry format as well. And now putting this all together into a component and data flow diagram, you kind of see how all of these pieces may fit together. And you can combine them and use Strands Agent's open source library to drive these interactions overall. So we're very excited to have integrations with very popular frameworks out there. So you see some quotes here from CEOs and founders of different orchestration tools, such as Crew AI here. We also have integrated with Llama Index that offers you sort of RAG-based capabilities in orchestration, and LangGraph, which is also a very popular orchestration library, as you can imagine. OK, so how do you actually build that orchestration software, right? We keep talking about the code, and I'm actually excited to mention that earlier this month, we've built and announced in the preview launch of Kiro. Kiro is an agentic IDE that helps you go from concept to production through a simplified developer experience. By combining the speed and ease of natural language prompting with the discipline of proper software engineering practices, Kiro helps you generate scalable and easy-to-maintain code that you can deploy to production. This is an interesting paradigm shift where we've talked about software development lifecycle, and now we're starting to see AI-infused software development cycle, sometimes even called AI DLC. And the exciting thing about Kiro is that it is actually instituting some sort of mental model where you start from your specification document. You generate that, and then you move on to requirements, more detailed requirements, task breakdown, and then actual implementation logic and testing, and so on. So this is exactly what we're trying to do, is promote the new way of building software through AI-infused software development lifecycle. Now let's talk about emergent risks and challenges. We've witnessed spectacular generative AI quality out there, only to run into surprises from time to time. And, you know, especially in the early days of Gen AI, we started seeing headlines where, believe it or not, but lawyers wanted to use Gen AI to find case law, and of course, a lot of hallucinated case law was cited, not just once, but actually multiple times. It seems to be a pattern, at least in the early days. Airlines struggled with providing quality kind of customer advice. Again, maybe not hallucinations per se, but not retrieving the proper information from their policies and aggregating it in a meaningful way. And interestingly enough, too, as transcription software is becoming more and more popular, as is witnessed with online translation that you see as well, if there are some hallucinations that creep in that transcription, it's especially important and especially challenging when that goes into patient records and can affect sort of health outcomes. So how do we approach this at AWS? Well, for us, we break down the responsible AI into the so-called 8 pillars. And I don't have the time to go into much detail on every one of those pillars, but suffice it to say, for example, dealing with hallucinations, this is under veracity and robustness. And we have tooling and best practices and solutions that go in every one of those buckets. So if you have some challenges there, please reach out, and we're here to help. And of course, the one important thing that I just want to re-emphasize, because Shally mentioned it in her talk, is Amazon Bedrock Guardrails. And despite the name, it's not just for Bedrock, right? You may not actually be using Bedrock directly, but guardrails are available through a call of API, and we actually have customers who are applying Bedrock guardrails to models outside of AWS completely, because it provides a great way to secure and filter the inputs and outputs. And so denied topics or out-of-scope conversations, Shally mentioned automated reasoning checks, an exciting new capability that is basically infusing logical reasoning on top of the standard weights-based, statistics-based generation of tokens out there. And of course, you have table stakes capabilities such as word filtering, PII, profanity, and so on and so forth. We've also been investing into kind of this regulatory landscape that's evolving. In fact, ISO released a standard called 42001, which is AI management system standard. And we have received certifications for several of our services on this front. And of course, we're also observing the evolution of regulations globally, things like the UA Act and local regulations here in Taiwan. And with that in mind, we've started advising customers, because a lot of these regulations come from the risk-first approach. So how do you actually detect risk? How do you mitigate risk? How do you manage it? And we've developed workshops and even software that we're happy to have run with you, deep workshops where we have customers sit down and analyze the possible harmful events that could happen, use tools to determine the likelihood of these events, and determine what the severity of these events can be to arrive at an overall perception of the risk for that particular application. And in terms of tools, I would like to also highlight certain key partner tools that we have available. IBM watsonx Governance, when it comes to governance and different personas, looking at the different life cycle of the application, is one such tool. We've also worked together with Accenture, for example, to build the responsible AI framework that runs on AWS. And it allows you to define an application scope, the model endpoints involved, compute metrics based on popular evaluation libraries. All right. So this balance between innovation and fundamentals is critical as we enter the agentic era. So permit me a bit of an analogy here. So when we talk about timeless fundamentals, security, observability, and data governance, integration, scalability, I liken it to the shortbread cookies. And on the other hand, we may have the pineapple paste, potentially delicious, exciting, but also shapeless, messy, and so on. And so this is like our models, tools, the evolving Gen AI and agentic ecosystem in there. And so AWS helps you put these together into safe and tasty treats that have an amazing balanced flavor, have defined shape and size, and are easy to handle and share with anyone. So AWS meets customers where they are on the agentic AI journey and offers everything they need to embrace agentic AI in their business. Okay, kind of coming to a close, the significant potential for our customers and our own diverse businesses has inspired us to focus on building the most trustworthy agentic AI capabilities on the planet. But the most important advice I can offer is very simple. Start now. Start today. Don't get trapped trying to boil the ocean, waiting for all the answers before you begin, right? Our advice for AI adoption, generative AI adoption, is now agentic AI remains the same. Pick a specific business and get building. The organizations seeing the greatest success aren't those with the most ambitious plans. They're those who started the learning cycle, gathering real-world feedback that informs each iteration. So that's why we've created multiple pathways to help you succeed based on your specific needs and resources. If you're looking to get started quickly, well, we have turnkey solutions like Amazon Q and ready-to-use AI capabilities. For teams waiting to build custom solutions, we provide powerful tools like Amazon Bedrock Agent Core, Strands Agents, Amazon Nova Foundation models, giving you complete control over your AI applications and models. And you don't have to go it alone. We have a remarkable network of 140,000 partners worldwide, including specialized AI experts who can help guide your journey. In fact, organizations working with our partners are moving to production 30% faster than those going solo. Okay, and speaking of our capable partners and exciting innovations, as you're heading out to lunch, I would like to welcome you into our AI Zone and AWS Industry Solutions Zone, where artificial intelligence isn't just a concept, it's a living, breathing reality transforming industries worldwide. And you'll see autonomous vehicles, AI-powered robots, and demonstrations spanning every major industry. So whatever path makes sense for your organization, AWS is here to help you build with confidence. Thank you.
Thank you, Denis. 非常谢谢 Denis 为我们带来精彩的内容。Let's also give a round of applause for all the speakers today. 我们也热情的掌声，谢谢今天所有为我们带来精彩内容的讲者们。接下来，让我们邀请现场的各位贵宾，利用一点时间，拿起各位的手机，扫描现在画面上所看到的 QR code， 来为我们填写议程问卷。感谢各位的意见回馈。